You know all about German history. We Germans were responsible for Auschwitz, Treblinka, Dachau. Whenever I'm in Washington in the Holocaust Museum, I'm ashamed that I'm a German, and hopefully nobody will recognize my German accent when their students are behind. And after Dachau, Treblinka, Auschwitz, we Germans told the whole world, never again. But it happens again, right now. Miss Kim was in there. We Germans were accused that we failed to act, to speak up, to speak out about the atrocities going on in Germany with the Jews. So I have to talk about the real picture in North Korea. I have to talk about induced starvation, about crimes against humanity, the killing fields of today. I will even call it the unknown genocide, because Kim Jong-un is using food as a weapon against his own people. I can prove that. And I took these images in a North Korean children's hospital. These are not pictures from Auschwitz or Treblinka. This is the reality in North Korea nowadays, in a North Korean children's hospital. And you can only imagine, when those are the children in a children's hospital, how it might look in Miss Kim's institution, in the concentration camps. Those children, they were looking so sad, so hopeless. And what shall I do? I'm a medical doctor. Should I give some antidepressiva, some injection, so that they will smile again? No, I can't. I have to take a political mandate. I have to change something. And therefore I'm standing here in front of you. Because my own country, Germany, unfortunately, does not take so much care. Maybe they even simply do not know about North Korea. I'm here in Canada, and I beg you, the people of Canada and the politicians, to do something. The children in North Korea are waiting for your help. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wollertson. Mr. Lee, please.
My name is Kyung-B Lee. As representative of the Council for Human Rights in North Korea, an independent, non-profit, non-partisan organization located in Toronto, I express my sincere thanks to the members of the Subcommittee for International Human Rights for allowing me the opportunity to present this verbal petition. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the honorable members of the committee. Today, and the day before yesterday, Dr. Wollertson and Mrs. Kim made testimonies on the horrendous situation that they experienced and I witnessed at firsthand in North Korea. The worst of the worst, as the Washington-based Freedom House described. Simply put, the so-called Democratic People's Republic Korea is a failed and failing state, in that it is not only unable but also unwilling to feed and protect its own people. It is also a rogue state, in that internally it is perpetrating crimes against its own people, and externally engaging in terrors and terror-sponsoring activities, committing acts of aggression, and developing weapons of mass destruction, including nuclear weapons and long-range missiles, threatening regional and world peace. In other words, North Korea is no longer a state in terms of morality and human security. It has lost the statehood. It is still a state, though, militarily and ideologically, with its military-first policy and Juche ideology. In dealing with North Korean issue, the international community is more concerned about security issue than human rights issue. Human rights issue is rather overshadowed, I would say, by the security issue. Rightly so, perhaps, because we tend to take care of our own national or regional security first, before we think of the human security of others. History tells us that nations that respect the rights of their citizens are less likely to turn to belligerence as a first resort, and vice versa. As J. Lefkowitz, the former special envoy for human rights in North Korea under Bush administration, said, I quote, "With Hitler, Stalin, and others, the march of tyranny at home was an antecedent to international aggression. On the other hand, no two democracies who value freedom and human rights have ever gone to war with each other." The relationship between Canada and the United States is a good example, I think. We Canadians don't feel threatened by the United States, our neighbor, that has perhaps hundreds or thousands of weapons of mass destruction, because the two countries share the same value, that is, freedom, human rights, and democracy. In other words, I quote him again, focusing on human rights goes far beyond being a moral imperative. It is a practical means to deal with the security issue as well, unquote. I understand that our Canada has done a lot for human rights in North Korea, multilaterally and bilaterally, such as co-sponsoring of the UN resolution, participation in the Universal Periodic Review, and raising the issue on the ambassadorial levels. Today, I want a petition based on the testimonies made and further studies to be made if necessary, and on behalf of the Korean Canadian community in Toronto, that Canada do more and further. Specifically, I want to petition this subcommittee to move a parliamentary resolution on the situation of human rights of North Koreans. Canada has a moral obligation to do so, I think, as an international leader in human rights and as a vigorous defender of freedom, human rights, democracy, and the rule of law, home and abroad. Some 60 years ago, Canada volunteered in the Korean War in order to defend the same value. And the mission hasn't been finished just yet, in a sense that the northern part of the Korean Peninsula is still not free, not democratized. North Korea usually snubs a UN resolution, calling it a US-led political plot to topple the so-called highly respected our-style socialist system. Under the circumstances, a Canadian resolution, if moved and passed by the Parliament of Canada, that has no direct military interest in the Korean Peninsula, would produce a great impact to the international community and serve as a huge pressure to the North Korean regime.